The office gathering was meant to be a simple occasion, an easygoing affair to relax and celebrate. After a full year of hard work and dedication, it was a chance to unwind. My husband, James, had been looking forward to it for weeks. He couldn't stop talking about it, always saying how this event would be the perfect chance to reconnect with his coworkers and enjoy a laid-back evening without the usual work pressures hanging over everything. To be honest, I wasn't exactly thrilled about the gathering. These kinds of office events always seemed a bit forced, a celebration that felt more like an obligation than anything else. It was always the same. People who barely spoke to you, all week suddenly transformed into the life of the party, as though they'd been best friends all along. But James was so excited that I figured it would be worth going just to support him. The event took place in a sophisticated venue, bathed in soft lighting and filled with the smooth sounds of jazz in the background. The tables were scattered, with appetizers that looked way too fancy for the occasion, though they definitely added to the elegant atmosphere. There were a few familiar faces from the office, but most people there were colleagues of James's, many of whom I'd only met once or twice before. I stayed close to James, mostly lingering in the background, making small talk with those around us, trying to avoid drawing too much attention to myself. Then, in the middle of the evening, I noticed her. Her name was Lily, a name I'd heard James mention more than once. She was in her late 30s, tall with long dark hair that framed her face perfectly. There was an undeniable energy about her that made it hard not to notice when she entered the room. She had this natural charisma that seemed to pull people in, and I could see why she was so captivating. What caught my attention, though, was how often she seemed to linger near James. Her laughter filled the room, light and airy, and she was always at the center of conversations. Most of the time, it was with Daniel, which only seemed to make her presence stand out more. There was something in the way she interacted with him that made me uneasy, though I couldn't exactly place my finger on why. It wasn't until later, in the evening, that I started to understand what was bothering me. As the party carried on, I found a quiet corner of the room to retreat to, hoping for a moment of peace. Cradling my glass of wine, I observed the crowd around me. It was a small escape from the bustle of the party, just enough time to catch my breath. But as I began to relax, a familiar presence brushed against me. I turned, and there she was. Lily, drink in hand, her smile wide and warm. "Sophia," she said, her voice smooth and confident. "I hope you're enjoying yourself tonight." Her smile was so perfectly crafted it almost felt rehearsed, like it had been practiced in front of a mirror. Despite the warmth in her tone, something about her seemed off. Still, I chose to stay calm, offering her a polite smile in return. "I'm doing all right," I replied, trying to sound casual. "The atmosphere is nice and the food is really great." She chuckled softly, her eyes drifting over to where James was chatting with a few of his colleagues across the room. "Isn't James just wonderful?" she remarked, her voice tinged with admiration. "He has this effortless charm about him, doesn't he? It's no wonder everyone in the office adores him." I nodded, trying my best to conceal the discomfort bubbling inside me. "Yes, he's truly a remarkable person. We've been together for quite a long time." Lily's gaze lingered on James for a moment, before she turned her attention back to me. "You two make such a perfect pair," she said, her voice softer now, almost as if she were sharing a secret. "He's lucky to have you by his side." There was a brief pause before she added, lowering her voice just enough for it to feel like a subtle confession. "You know, Sophia, you have such an undeniable grace. But sometimes a little excitement is all we need. Don't you think?" The words seemed to hang in the air, their meaning not lost on me. My heart skipped a beat. What was she hinting at? I couldn't quite figure it out, but it left a sense of unease stirring inside me. Just as I was about to respond, Lily's phone buzzed, and she quickly excused herself, mentioning she had to take the call. With a quick, almost dismissive smile, she turned and walked away, leaving me alone with my thoughts. An unsettling knot began to twist in my stomach. The atmosphere shifted abruptly, becoming denser, and my thoughts surged with a whirlwind of interpretations of her words. Yet I set it aside. It was likely inconsequential. She was merely extending her warmth as the evening unfolded. I endeavored to concentrate on the moments around the persistent thoughts of Lily and James Lingard tugging at my mind. Her words danced around him, her gaze Lingard weaving an unspoken connection. It seemed as though she perceived something that eluded my own gaze. I brushed aside the sensation and set off in search of James. She continued his conversation with a few colleagues. When I drew near, but upon catching sight of me, his face brightened with that unmistakable smile. It consistently enveloped me in a sense of security, as if the universe had aligned perfectly in its intended order. At this evening, an unsettling sensation lingered in the air. Relief washed over me as the evening began to draw to a close, guests exchanging their farewells, and gradually drifting toward the exits. James and I made our way to the car weariness evident in our eyes, yet buoyed by a sense of camaraderie as we exited the parking lot. I cast a sidelong glance at him, attempting to decipher the nuances of his expression. What was the atmosphere of the party like? I inquired, maintaining a cheerful tone. It was good, he remarked, his hands comfortably placed on the steering wheel. His tone easygoing. Engaging in conversation with Lily was truly enjoyable. She exudes an abundance of energy. Wouldn't you agree? I smiled, yet it seemed more reflex than a true expression of joy. Indeed, she possesses a certain allure. James let out a laugh, oblivious to the subtle strain woven into my words. I believe she has feelings for you, Sophia, he remarked. She commented on your style in a very kind way, and not formed in my stomach. Did she really? I inquired, striving to maintain a tone of utter neutrality. Indeed, she possesses a remarkable kindness. James remarked, finding someone so easygoing in the office is a rare delight. She possesses an innate ability to put others at ease. The words lingered in the atmosphere, and it dawned on me that perhaps I wasn't the sole observer of Lily's gaze. The night had enveloped me in a sense of disquiet, as if I were perched on the brink of an unknown abyss, grappling with an elusive understanding. What transpired between Lily and James was there a deeper layer to this than what met the eye. The days following the office party slipped by in a haze as James and I resumed our familiar rhythm. He would leave for work while I took care of everything at home. Yet a transformation had taken root within. Lily occupied my thoughts incessantly. Whenever I caught sight of James laughing or engaging in conversation with someone, a part of me couldn't help but speculate on whether she was somehow intertwined. In those moments, I attempted to dispel the swirling thoughts, reassuring myself that I was merely succumbing to paranoia, yet the uncertainty remained. A week later, the situation reached its climax. I found myself on the phone with my sister, engaging in our familiar ritual of catching up on life as I strolled through the kitchen. I caught sight of James's phone vibrating on the counter. A luminous display reveals a message preview from an unfamiliar center. My insatiable curiosity led me down an intriguing path. I approached and cast my eyes upon the screen. A message arrived from Lily. Hello, James. I hope this isn't too bold, but I truly appreciated our discussion the other evening. Shall we reconnect in the near future? Only the two of us. I stood still, caught in a moment of disbelief. My breath hitched in my throat. Their message appeared polite, but something about it felt a bit unusual. What was unfolding? What could have prompted her to reach out to James in such a manner? Why wasn't it approached as a collective matter, or conveyed in a more relaxed manner? My thoughts began to whirl. Lingered in my mind the thought of whether she was attempting to draw nearer to him. What of her behavior at the party? Had I merely been lost in my thoughts, or was there a subtle dance of flirtation between her and him all along? I lingered for a brief spell, attempting to calm the tumble within me. I understood that it was time to face James. I found myself uncertain about how to approach the matter, without implying that he was guilty of something he had not committed. I had no desire to ignite a conflict. The unsettling sensation in my gut was impossible to dismiss. With a studying breath, I grasped his phone and scrutinized the message once again. With a swift motion, I crafted a brief response to Lily, using his phone, hoping to gain a moment's reprieve. Hello, Lily. I appreciate your message. James is quite occupied with work at the moment, but I will make sure to inform him that you reached out. I trust this message finds you in good spirits. I press, send, and set the phone down. Just as James entered the kitchen, I cast a fleeting look in my direction, his demeanor gentle and unguarded. Greetings, are you all right? He inquired, his tone gentle and tinged with curiosity. I forced a smile, attempting to maintain an air of normalcy. Indeed, merely perusing something on your device. All is well, he nodded. Yet a single eyebrow arched in curiosity. Are you certain your expression suggests a hint of uncertainty? There was a moment of uncertainty. This was the moment, in that pivotal moment. I found myself torn between the choice to confront him or to suppress my emotions and feign that all was well. I noticed Lily's message. I replied, my voice softer than I had meant it to be. She mentioned her desire to reconnect with you. James's expression flickered with a hint of bewilderment. Could you clarify what you mean? Did she send me a message? Indeed, I responded, striving to maintain a calm tone. What began as a simple invitation carried an undertone that suggested something deeper. The stillness stretched on, an unbroken silence enveloping the space. It was evident that James's mind was racing, meticulously sifting through the words I had just shared. At last, he let out a soft sigh and approached me tenderly, grasping my hands in his. Sophia, I had no inkling you were experiencing these feelings, remarked, his tone gentle yet sincere. Lily and I are merely friends. I assure you she can be a bit bold at times, yet there's nothing happening between us. I was unaware that it was causing you discomfort. I gazed at him for a moment, attempting to decipher the nuances of his expression. Was he truly sincere, or could this merely be a finely honed pretext? So why was the message not shared with me? I inquired, making an effort to keep my tone neutral, though I stumbled slightly in my delivery. I didn't think it was a big deal. James confessed she has consistently exhibited a more extroverted nature than the majority of her colleagues in the office. I certainly didn't want you to believe that I was concealing anything, however, witnessing your response made me understand that I ought to have been more candid about it. My heart yearned to trust his words. I truly did, yet a frogman of my being remained uneasy, as if an intangible discord lingered in the air. I simply cannot bear the thought of being overlooked or excluded. I admitted, a hint of vulnerability lacing my words. It seems as though she is making an effort to bridge the distance between you. James, I find myself questioning the sincerity of her intentions. James clasped my hand softly, his gaze unwavering, as it met mine. Sophia, there's no need for you to be concerned about Lily. He reassured her. You are the sole focus of my affection. Yet despite my yearning to embrace his assurances, an unsettling intuition whispered within me that this was far from the conclusion. James clasped my hands, his eyes warming with tenderness. Sophia, my heart is yours. My heart desires nothing more than your presence. Lily is merely a colleague, and I genuinely didn't perceive it as a significant matter. However, if it is causing you discomfort, I will take care of it. I will ensure she understands that my feelings are strictly platonic. Observed him intently, searching for any hint of dishonesty. Yet all that met my gaze was the man I had vowed to share my life with. The man I once knew. The uncertainty within me started to dissipate, and I gave a slow nod. Very well, I replied softly, uncertainty lingering within me yet. I was prepared to place my faith in him. I simply wished to avoid the sensation of drifting away from you. James's smile widened as he enveloped me in a warm embrace. I won't be lost to you. Sophia, I will always be by your side. Yet beneath the surface a flicker of doubt stirred within me, questioning whether Lily's motives held greater complexity than either James, or I could perceive the message conveyed a singular notion, yet the question lingered: how would the events transpire from this point? Onward the ensuing days unfolded with an unusual tranquility. James took strides to ensure I was more informed, keeping me updated whenever Lily or anyone else from the office contacted him. It provided some relief, yet the lingering discomfort remained ever present. That night at the office party replayed in my mind, like a haunting melody, the gaze Lily cast upon James. She had a way of making her presence known, which lingered longer than I expected. A persistent sensation lingered, suggesting that an unseen truth eluded my grasp. Then the true challenge arrived as the sun dipped below the horizon on that Friday evening. James and I settled into the comforting embrace of our home intent on a serene night together. Only the two of us while I was in the midst of preparing dinner. His phone buzzed once more. As I cast a fleeting look, my heart raced at the sight of Lily's name, illuminating the screen. This time it carried a weight beyond mere casualness. A photograph it was. James had carelessly abandoned his phone on the counter, and my insatiable curiosity began to stir within me. I approached and grasped unable to shake off the nagging sensation of doubt. The image captured Lily in a quaint cafe setting. Her smile was broad, radiating a sense of carefree joy. Yet it was not that which drew my gaze. The message that accompanied the photo was particularly striking. I just savored a cup of coffee, and it whisked me back to that unforgettable night at the party. I would relish the opportunity to experience it once more, perhaps in a more tranquil setting, free from the throngs of people. A shiver coursed through my being. Initial impulse was to let the phone slip from my grasp, and I found myself unable to do so. The essence of that message, the subtle implication woven within, sent a ripple of unease through my gut. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was a little off. She was poised to make her move. I inhaled deeply and set the phone down just before James entered the room. Approaching him felt like an enigma. I couldn't quite unravel. Would he perceive it as I did, or was I merely overreacting? Once more as James entered from the living room, I remained by the counter, striving to regain my composure. He gazed at me, and in that instant, I understood the very moment I beheld his expression, that a change had occurred. "Is all well?" he inquired, a note of worry lacing his voice as he sensed the palpable tension in the atmosphere. I inclined my head, yet the gesture lacked sincerity. A constriction gripped my chest. This transcends mere friendly exchanges, doesn't it? Her message caught my attention. It carried a weight beyond the ordinary. She is making an effort to bridge the distance between you. James advanced a profound scowl, etching his features. "Sophia, I assure you she is merely a colleague. All is still not unfolding. You're over-analyzing the situation yet." The words resonated with emptiness. Frustration flickered in his eyes, a silent testament to his inner turmoil. Yet I found myself uncertain whether the frustration stemmed from me or the circumstances at hand. "James, it has transcended mere words," I said, my voice soft yet resolute. "I've noticed that she seems to seek your attention, more than others in the group. Her manner of extending a hand. I see clearly it seems she is testing limits, and I find it increasingly difficult to overlook it any longer." Remained quiet for an extended pause. The stillness enveloping the room was overwhelming at last. James exhaled deeply, his hand moving to massage his forehead. He confessed that he had not excelled in maintaining transparency with you. I brushed it off, as she has always had a tendency to be a bit bold yet. I now recognize the extent of your discomfort, and it is imperative that I address it. I assure you that I will have a conversation with her. It is essential to emphasize that this behavior is unacceptable. Fragment of my being yearned to trust his words. Yet there existed another facet of my being, one that had witnessed Lily's understated overtures up close, which remained uncertain. "I simply require your honesty." "James," I stated as the burden of my own feelings bore heavily upon me. I refuse to be made a fool of. I'm not trying to play you. Sophia, he said, his voice now imbued with a gentler tone. The fury had dissipated, yet the uncertainty, it remained steadfast and unyielding. I don't want to lose you over. This, James said, his voice steady, yet resolute. I will have a conversation with Lily too. Ensure she understands her role. You're the sole focus of my affection. I gazed into his eyes, seeking a glimmer of something reassurances, sincerity, perhaps even a hint of truth. In that fleeting instant, I discovered it. I could see the man I wed, the man who had vowed to me his unwavering loyalty. Yet amidst that realization, a fragment of my mind lingered, in doubt. Could I genuinely place my trust in him, or was there something deeper lurking beneath the surface? The remainder of the evening unfolded in silence, yet the tension that lingered between us remained palpable. Though I recognized James's efforts, my thoughts continually drifted back to Lily's message. What was its significance? To what length was she prepared to venture? The following morning, after finishing his breakfast, James set out for work, adhering to his customary routine, yet as he stepped through the threshold, an unsettling feeling washed over me. A nagging thought lingered in my mind, prompting me to question whether I had overlooked something significant. Whether there was a deeper layer to this than I had initially perceived. I resolved to seize control of the situation myself. I refused to remain idle, passively awaiting answers. I had to uncover the truth about Lily, and it was essential that I heard it directly from her. The ensuing days were fraught with tension. I understood the necessity of seizing command of the circumstances. At hand, I could no longer allow doubt to gnaw at my resolve. I felt compelled to speak with Lily directly, clarify the situation, and address her openly. Uncertainty clouded my mind as I contemplated my approach, yet an undeniable instinct whispered within me, urging that this was the path I was meant to take. James departed for work on that Monday morning. Decision was firmly set. I needed to have a conversation with Lily. A resolution to the disquiet that had settled deep within my heart seemed elusive, leaving me with no alternative but to confront it head-on. I extended my hand towards her. Message was clear and to the point. Hello, Lily. I was wondering if we could have a conversation. There's been a certain discomfort lingering in the air regarding our recent interactions. Would you be willing to arrange a meeting? The response arrived with remarkable swiftness, and I could feel her eagerness to connect. She consented to rendezvous with me at a nearby cafe, a simple, unadorned space perfect for an earnest exchange of thoughts. A surge of anxiety enveloped me. I donned my clothes and readied myself. To step out, this would not be a simple task, yet I understood the necessity of it all for the preservation of my marriage. Upon my arrival at the cafe, I found Lily already present, comfortably settled at a table by the window. She appeared at ease, cradling a cup of coffee while leisurely scrolling through her phone. Her demeanor was serene. Yet the moment our eyes met, she set her phone aside and offered me a courteous smile. A smile that fell short of illuminating her eyes. Sophia Hige, she said, her voice. Eric, airing a hint of mischief, I found myself uncertain about your arrival. I took my seat opposite her, making an effort to calm my racing heart. I hesitated, my gaze locked onto hers, as I replied with uncertainty. However, I felt it was essential to discuss everything with you. Her smile dimmed a touch, and she reclined in her chair, arms folded across her chest. I'm not sure what you mean, she said, tilting her head in curiosity. Does this pertain to James indeed? It concerns James, I replied, my voice unwavering yet heavy with the burden of all that had been troubling me. I'm not entirely sure what has transpired between the two of you, but your attempts to connect with him leave me feeling uneasy. She arched an eyebrow, yet chose to remain silent. I inhaled deeply and pressed Ona, growing sense of urgency propelling me forward, though our conversations have been few. I find it impossible to overlook the messages that linger between us. Your attempts to draw narrower to him seem rather misplaced. Lily's eyes soften slightly, Yet a flicker of something lingered behind them, something elusive just beyond my grasp. "I understand," she murmured softly. "It was never my intention to cause you any discomfort." I truly apologize if that was the outcome. For an instant I found myself disoriented. I had anticipated her to be on the defensive, to refute my claims or to brush aside my emotions. Yet surprisingly, she appeared almost contrite. "What prompted you to send him that message following the party?" I pressed my heart pounding. "In my chest you mentioned a desire to gather just the two of you. It appeared anything but casual." Lily cast her eyes downward at her coffee for a brief moment, before lifting them to meet mine once more. This time imbued with a profound sincerity. "I want to be completely honest with you, Sophia," Shay commenced, her voice now a gentle whisper. "Engaging in conversation with James at the party was truly enjoyable. He possesses a gentle nature. Always attentive, yet I have never harbored any desire to disrupt the bond of your marriage." She hesitated, selecting her words with precision. "I admire the bond you share, and it's evident how deeply you care for one another." A soft sigh slipped from her lips. I ought to have recognized the folly of blurring the boundaries, reclined in my chair, the gravity of her words enveloping me. A flicker of anger stirred within me, yet simultaneously a wave of relief washed over my being. Her honesty caught me off guard. A revelation I hadn't anticipated. I never intended to create any problems. She continued. "I never wished to be the source of any uncertainty between you and James. I sincerely apologize if I have overstepped any boundaries." She paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. At times it can be all too simple to overlook the fact that those in joyful unions are beyond reach. Her voice had taken on a gentler tone, laced with a sense of regret. Yet one must ponder, was it authentic, or merely another intricately woven deception? "I apologize for not honoring that." Lily's voice was soft, and for the first time, it resonated with authenticity. For a brief moment I remained quiet, absorbing the weight of her words. The revelation caught me off guard, leaving me uncertain about how to respond. Lily was not the antagonist I had envisioned. Her ass she had no intention of taking James from May. She had merely allowed herself to become somewhat ensnared by the attention he lavished upon Hera. Fragment of my being grasped that notion. A fragment of my being had witnessed it unfold previously. "Thank you for your honesty." I finally replied, my voice softer than it had been. "Thank you for your understanding, and I apologize for making assumptions too quickly." Lily offered me a fleeting smile. "I understand," she said. "It is only human to guard fiercely that which belongs to you. James is truly a good person. He is fortunate to have someone such as yourself." I nodded, sensing a burden ease from my chest, yet an unsettling feeling remained, casting a shadow over the moment. It had ceased to revolve around Lily. The story revolved around James and me, concerning the necessity of restoring our trust. The path ahead promised to be fraught with challenges. Yet it was indeed achievable. Upon exiting the cafe, a peculiar sense of clarity washed over me. Uncertainty loomed over the horizon, leaving me to ponder what the future might bring. Yet there was one certainty that lingered in my mind. I had to place my trust in James for. Without that, I would find myself unable to progress. The dialogue with Lily had proven beneficial. Yet, the moment had arrived to turn my attention to my marriage, to concentrate on ourselves upon my return that evening. I found James already present in the house, perched upon the couch. "It awaits my arrival." He glanced up as I entered, his expression a blend of caution and hope. "What was the outcome?" he inquired softly. I settled beside him, inhaling deeply. We engaged in conversation. I remarked. She spoke to me with unwavering honesty. I took a moment, allowing my words to linger in the air. "There is absolutely nothing at all that exists between you two, James, yet I find myself yearning for a deeper trust in you. I require you to share more openly with me." James nodded, a wave of relief washing over his features. "I can do that," he replied. "I assure you I will improve." He extended his hand toward mine, his grasp resolute and unwavering. "I wish to hold on to you, not let go for something so trivial." A smile crept across my face, a gentle warmth blossoming within my chest. "I share your sentiment. The thought of losing you is equally distressing to me." We lingered in silence for a moment, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air, the gravity of the dialogue suspended in the air between us. On this occasion, there was an unmistakable shift. It seemed as though we were both prepared to advance, to leave the past in the shadows, to reconstruct what once was ours. Though the path may be fraught with challenges, the reward at the journey's end would undoubtedly make it all worthwhile.